All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So if you are watching this video, you probably already saw the first video in this series here where I'm breaking down the exact execution and strategies that we implemented for crushing a live webinar for a health coaching offer where we did 150K cash collected on the first live webinar that we did. In the first video, right before this one, I talked all about the presentation itself and how to create a winning webinar presentation that crushes for warm traffic. In this video, I'm going to be specifically talking about the copy and the funnel assets that we created and the frameworks and principles behind them that really allowed us to just, again, absolutely blow this webinar out of the water and exceed our expectations. So I'm going to skip the intros and I'm going to dive right in. So there are three core asset types that we built and that you need for a successful webinar promotion cycle. Again, one small note I want to make here is that what we found to work the best is a 7-day promo cycle. You can do a 5-day or a 6-day works fine too. I've just found in my experience that 7 days really gives you enough breathing room to hit the audience with different angles and different testimonials and all that stuff. So 7 days is ideal if you can make it happen. Again, three core asset types here when it comes to copy for a live webinar and for the one that we did here in this instance. So number one is your landing page copy. Then you've got your emails. Then you've got your social posts and your ads. So again, in this video, I'm going to dive into all three and really just the core, most important principles behind each of them in order to make them work for your business. So when it comes to landing page copy, which is the first core asset type here, you've got two subsections within this. You've got your registration page that you're going to send people to from your emails, your social, and your ads, and then you've got your thank you page. So when it comes to the registration page, again, nothing too complicated here. What worked really well for us and what we recommend you do as well is have a simple benefit focused headline and a subheader. So the headline can be something like how to go from X to Y, with X being the pain that your market is experiencing. And again, this has to be the real deep, most authentic and true pain that your market is truly having, not what you think they're having, and how to go from that to whatever their deepest desire is. And you can say something like, how to do that in 2025, or how our clients are going from X pain to Y desire. And then your subheader is really simple. It's, without X, Y, and Z, with X, Y, and Z being three different common solutions and approaches that they've likely tried but have not succeeded with and haven't gotten them the results they're looking for. Then right underneath you have a call to action button, right? So boom, in our landing page, we had a button that then opened up a pop-up. Inside the pop-up was a Typeform application where they then submitted their info, name, email, phone number, so our setters can text the leads. And in addition to that, we had one sort of qualifying question that gave us a little bit of qualitative data as far as who this person is. So we asked them what they do for work / what kind of business they own. And then underneath the CTA button, you have just 3 to 5 bullets that are heavily benefit driven, right? You can have some stuff that's pain focused as well, but you really want most of it to be about what they're going to get out of coming to this webinar and get them excited about that. Then you have social proof, then you have the founder story. And what's really important on the landing page, and specifically the registration page, is you need to make sure it is crystal clear what day, date, time, and where the webinar will be taking place. So what we did is we implemented a banner at the top of the page that gave this exact information. So it was like live workshop with our founder on Wednesday, whatever the date was, 2025 at 7 p.m. EST on Zoom, right? Very simple, very clear. You can't mistake it. And we made that banner that was at the top of the page sticky on scroll, so they saw it no matter how far down on the page they went. It was still sticky at the top. And then after your landing page, after your registration page, you have your thank you page. Thank you page is really, really simple. There's way fewer elements on the page, on the thank you page than there are on the registration page. So simply put, you just have your confirmation headline. So it's like, you're registered for our upcoming live workshop where founder name is going to teach you X, Y, and Z. Again, make sure you're reminding them of what they're going to get out of the webinar, when and where it's going to be taking place, and make sure that the messaging is congruent, which I do talk about here in a second, but I'll jump to that now, which is you want to make sure what you're saying on the thank you page matches what you have on the registration page so people do not get confused. Very simple, but very, very important. You also want to embed a link. You can do this with some very simple custom CSS or code. You want to embed a link to give people the option to add the event to their Google Calendar. It's really, really important. There's all these little micro optimization points throughout a webinar funnel that, if you miss one or two, doesn't make necessarily a world of a difference, but when you do have them and you have them added up, there's a cumulative effect that really helps to optimize the entire funnel and specifically show rate, right? So you want to have the ability for people to easily add the event to their calendar. And then something that we did that was a little bit of a sort of bonus ninja trick here is we also created a free WhatsApp group that we gave everyone that signed up for the webinar the option to join post registration. And we didn't really do much with the group other than we had the founder drop a few voice notes here and there. And then we had a team member drop the Zoom link in there a couple times leading up to the webinar and once we went live. But what really worked well with this, and we actually had about half of our registrants join this WhatsApp group. So we had about 400 or 500 people in this group, which is pretty epic. What's really good about this is, again, it just gives you another sort of asset and an arena to communicate with your audience outside of text and email reminders. And there's just something a little bit more intimate about WhatsApp that I think worked really well for us. And I'd highly recommend you try as well. And of course, this WhatsApp group does serve as a future asset, in the business for future webinars or other things you want to promote. So again, this is a bonus, not necessary, but we did this and I think it really helped. Again, most important things to keep in mind when it comes to your landing page copy is messaging is everything, right? So you can have a funnel that is a 5 out of 10 on the design scale. Colors are all out of whack. The design just looks like shit. And you're like, what the fuck is this? Who built this, right? But if your messaging is 10 out of 10, you can still do really, really well with your webinar, which is why, again, it is so important that your messaging is clear, right? Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try and be fancy. It's clear, it's simple, and it's exactly where it has to meet your market exactly where they are at right now. And in order to do that, you need to understand your market intimately. Again, listen to sales calls, talk to clients, get as much data and information as you possibly can, and then translate that clearly into the messaging on the funnel. And lastly, again, as I mentioned before, congruence and continuity across the entire funnel is so important. I've seen this so many times where businesses and marketing teams will launch a webinar and there's just these slight mismatches in messaging and what they're saying on different pages. And it seems small on the surface, but it does create mistrust and confusion in the market, which is the last thing you want to be doing when you're promoting a live webinar. So let's move to, excuse me, the email copy here, right? So again, we have the landing page. Now we have the emails. Within the emails, there are three core sequences. So you have your promo sequence, which is designed to get people to register for the webinar. Then you have your show up sequence, which gets sent to people after they register, which is designed to get them to show up at the highest rate possible. And then we have the post webinar sequence, which I'm going to go through in a second, which is equally as important as the first two. So when it comes to the promo sequence, again, really, really simple. We sent 7 promo emails in total throughout the 7-day promo cycle. So we sent a promo email every single day. We also did 1 teaser email the day before the first promo went out, just to let our email list know, hey, something really cool and exciting is coming. And within our 7 promo emails, we sent a really healthy mix of client stories and testimonials. We sent a couple of personal stories from the founder that were relevant for what we were teaching on the webinar. And then obviously we connected it and wove it back into why they should then sign up for the webinar. Belief shifting emails. So we sent 1 or 2 of these as well, where it was essentially just slowly and subtly starting to shift the way our market views their problem and the potential solutions out there and how they're approaching what they're trying to solve. And those worked really well. I would say, and lastly, contrarian take. I think we only sent 1 of these as well, which was, again, just like, hey, what you think about your problem is actually not true or whatever, right? It's like, actually, it's a contrarian view on something that's important to your market. And those work really well for us. However, what was interesting is the client story emails, were the clear top performers in all of our promo emails. They just absolutely crushed. And there's really something there's something to the relatability factor when you can share a client experience that where you help them overcome their challenge, and it's super, super relevant to what your market is experiencing right now. Again, when it comes to the promo emails, we also pulled a few from just our top performing evergreen emails that we sent, just broadcast style to our list. So again, that's a really easy place to start. Start with your top performing email angles and just turn them into promo emails for the webinar. And throughout all the promo emails, we also had urgency woven in, right? So reminding them, hey, like, this is really important. This is exciting. We might not do this again. We might, but also we don't know when, and it's happening on this date, et cetera, et cetera. It's really, really important that you're there. Here's why. Now, here are the most important things for the promo emails, right? So again, you want to send a good mix. So don't just send don't only send client testimonials, and don't only send just like direct offers kind of emails where it's like, hey, we're doing a webinar next week. Here's what you're going to learn. Sign up here, right? That's super simple and basic. You don't just want to send those. You want to have a good balance. Like I said, it's kind of like an investment portfolio is how I like to look at it. You want to have a diversified mix of email types that you send. Again, like with the landing page, keep the messaging congruent. So in every email, make sure that when you're talking about what they're going to get out of the webinar and what you're going to be teaching them, it's the same, right? There, you don't want any, again, just misalignment or miscongruence in what you're actually saying. Third is make it incredibly relevant for them. So you need to tie everything, because what we're doing in the emails, right, is we are promoting something, and that is the webinar. And what we need to be doing in order for people to get excited about actually signing up and coming to the webinar is we need to show them why it's relevant for them, why this webinar is the most important thing for them to come to right now for their specific situation, the problem they're trying to solve. And then lastly, similar to this, is emphasize what they're going to get. You are going to learn X, Y, Z, and 1, 2, 3. You're going to get X. There's this giveaway. Like, it has to be what is in it for them throughout the entire promo sequence. Next, let's talk about the show up sequence. So again, similar to the promo sequence, we sent 7 emails in total. We did a confirmation email, an email the day before, 2 hours before, 30 minutes before, 10 minutes before. We sent an email once we went live on Zoom, letting them know that we were live and giving them a link. And then we sent an email 5 minutes after we went live for people who maybe just missed the link or whatever, right? You always want to scoop up as much of the list as possible for each sort of lead bucket. And so again, 5 minutes after the webinar went live, we said, hey, we've been on for 5 minutes. We're about to start in another 5 to 10. Make sure you jump on here before we do. And then even in the show up sequence, we still continue to send different client stories, founder stories, because again, the show up sequence isn't just about reminding them when and where the webinar is, right? Like obviously it's part of it, and hey, it's on Zoom, here's the link, but also it's about still building the anticipation, building the excitement, showing them that we've helped other people like them solve the exact same problem they're trying to solve right now, and paint the picture of what's possible through showing these clients in their new sort of states and versions of themselves after having our help with solving that problem. Again, we're building anticipation, building excitement, because getting someone to show up to a webinar, just like getting someone to show up to a sales call, is not just about reminding them 1,000,001 times of when and where the call is going to be or the webinar. It's about giving them an actual reason to show up, right? And I can go on a whole tangent about this, but getting someone to show up to something, it's not just, oh, we're going to send twice as many reminders. It's like, why should I even be there? And you get someone to answer, you get someone to say that I should be there subconsciously in their head by showing them what they're going to get, and by actually getting them excited and genuinely leaned in and bought in to what they're going to get out of showing up to the thing you're trying to get them to show up to. And again, of course, remind them where it's going to be, again, what they're going to get out of the webinar, of course, but when and where it's going to be. Remind them with a link to the free WhatsApp group. Include the Zoom link in all your emails, right? That's really, really important. Again, small things, but makes a big difference when it comes to show up rates. Because again, the core goal of this sequence is to get as many people to show up to the webinar as possible. Next, let's talk about the post-webinar sequences. So there's actually 2 separate flows when it comes to the post-webinar emails. So number one is we had a separate flow for people who registered for the webinar but didn't actually attend, which we were able to track through Zoom and some API automations. And then we also had a sequence for people who attended and were on the webinar but didn't book a call. So in the sequence to the first bucket here, people who signed up but didn't attend, we recapped what we taught on the webinar. We shared how everyone was excited. People were asking questions. We talked about this. We went over this, et cetera, and we were selling the replay. So in all the emails to this lead bucket here, we were not selling the book a call. We were selling watching the replay, and we had a whole separate replay page that we built out with a calendar underneath for them to book a call. But we weren't selling the book a call, and we actually had an insane amount of bookings just from this sequence alone. I can't remember exactly the number off the top of my head. It was at least 50 to 60 additional bookings within just 2 to 3 days after sending this and after the webinar. But this sequence right here is a real heavy hitter. And then same thing with this. So with the people who attended but didn't book a call from the webinar, in this case, we were selling the call because these people were further along the journey. They had already been on the webinar and watched some of it to a certain degree. Maybe they even saw, up to the CTA, but they just got busy, forgot, we're still on the fence, whatever it is. So here we're reminding them of what they're going to get out of the call. So again, we're not selling our high ticket offer. We're selling the book a call. We're reminding them what they're going to get. We're even just kind of giving them a little bit of FOMO, showcasing how many people have already booked a call. We're weaving in some urgency and limited calendar capacity. We only have this many spots left. We're sharing testimonials again. You're going to notice the trends here, right? Throughout the entire journey, we're still reminding people, here's why this is important. Here's why this is important. Here's what happens when you follow what we have laid out for you. You get results like this, et cetera, right? So when it comes to emails, most important things to keep in mind are really just get them excited, right? What is in it for them? People should feel like they cannot miss this webinar in the promo emails, the show up sequence, and in the post webinar emails as well. They can't miss this replay. They need to go and book this call. How do you engineer that excitement? Well, again, you got to show them what's in it for them, and you can only do that if you understand where they're at. And you also want to be answering the question, hey, how is this different? How is this webinar different from just going and watching a VSL or just watching some YouTube videos or whatever? You need to answer these questions, because if you can, you're going to have a frenzy of people showing up to the webinar, just like we did with over 1,000 registrants. So let's move on to the third and final asset type here when it comes to copy, which is the social posts and the ads. So when it comes to social and organic content, it's really simple. There were two main drivers here. The first primary driver of organic was our Instagram organic. So we did 5 social posts in total. And all we did was we turned our top performing email angles. And what I mean by this is we turned our top performing emails of all time that we've sent to our list, just broadcast or autoresponder style. We turned those into Instagram carousels, and those worked really, really well. We also posted them as Instagram stories. So we didn't share the carousel post. We actually posted each individual slide as a story as well. So it's like a fresh story and a fresh carousel. And within both the stories and the carousels, we had a call to action to DM or comment a specific word to register, or a specific word to get a link to register. And then we just had a very simple ManyChat workflow with one step, with one message, which sent them a link to register. And of course, we had high-risk parameters on all the links. Same goes for the emails, so we can easily track and analyze, okay, which social post in particular created the most amount of registrants, which emails, et cetera. So that's, again, small things. As you can see, there's a lot of little things that go into a successful webinar, but they're all equally as important. And then the last thing here when it came to organic was we added, again, small things, but we had another like 60 or 70 people sign up, if maybe even closer to 100 just from this alone, which again doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're at a 50% show rate, that's another 50, maybe even 60 people live in a Zoom room because of just this one small action, which was, again, adding the registration page link in all of our YouTube video descriptions. So we just did a bulk change to our YouTube video descriptions. For the small time window of the promo, we removed all other links from our YouTube video descriptions and only had our live workshop registration link, because we wanted to push as many people to that as possible. And we didn't even have YouTube videos where we had the founder specifically promoting it. We just had the link in there because we get a lot of traction on our YouTube organic, and people just naturally ascended to taking the next step from watching our videos, which was signing up for the webinar. So again, small needle movers in the grand scheme of things, but they move the needle and make a big difference. So that's what we did for socials. And then when it came to ads, it was really, really simple. And this is what I mean, guys. Like, if you're already doing a couple $100,000 a month with your info business, you're already, like, I can almost guarantee you're sitting on gold, and you're probably sitting on a multi-6-figure webinar as far as the pieces to the puzzle go right now. You just need to know how to assemble them. So when it comes to ads, all we did was retargeting. So we didn't do any cold traffic ads. And for these retargeting ads, what we did is we took our top 3 performing cold traffic ads, and then we swapped in the CTA. So instead of the CTA being whatever it was for the cold traffic funnel we were running those ads to, we had the founder film specific CTA for the webinar. So again, it's really simple. It's like, hey, if you're this type of person, you're struggling with X pain, you want X and Y desires, I'm hosting a live workshop on this day, date, and time. It's going to be on Zoom. Here's what I'm going to show you. If you're this kind of person, you don't want to miss this, here's why, et cetera, right? Just selling the webinar. It was like a 60-second CTA. We swapped that CTA into the end of the top 3 performing ads, and those top 3 performing ads are just your standard good quality, high quality ad frameworks with testimonials and hooks and all that. We ran these new ads to our warmest audiences as Facebook ads. So we inside the warm audiences, we had low ticket buyers, people who engage with our Facebook and Instagram pages over the last 90 to 180 days, people who viewed 75% or more of certain pieces of video content, all of our possible warm audiences we ran these ads to. We only spent, again, about $800 on these retargeting ads, but we were still getting, I think, between $10 and $15 registrations. So really, really effective there. We also tested some simple image ads, which worked okay. They were closer to about a $18 to $20 cost per registration, which still isn't bad. But compared to our video ads, the video ads were getting like $10 signups. So they were just clearly outperforming the image ads. But again, all we do is run 3 video ads and they just absolutely crushed. And then the copy itself was just really, really short form copy. It was just like, hey, if you're this kind of person, you're struggling with X, we're running this webinar on this date and this time. It's going to be on Zoom. Here's a link to sign up. So yeah, that's really it. I hope you found this helpful. A little bit of a shorter one here, but again, that is all of the copy and funnel assets that we executed for this live webinar that produced $150K in cash collected on the first go round. If you found this helpful and if you want an extra set of eyes on your marketing, then I invite you to book what I call a look at my shit and fix it call, which is just a completely free audit of all your current marketing, client acquisition, your ads, your emails, your funnels. If you got some low ticket stuff going on, maybe you did a webinar, whatever it is, I geek out on this stuff here. And whether or not you want to work with me and have become a consulting client of mine is irrelevant. I just love getting on calls with founders and diagnosing where the hidden opportunities lie in scaling their marketing, their client acquisition, and their businesses in the info space, and then helping map that out for them. So again, if that's interesting, go ahead. You can book that in the description below. There's a Calendly link. It's a completely free call. And again, whether or not you decide to work with me, either way, you'll leave that call 100% with more clarity and a game plan on how to actually start fixing the bottlenecks inside your marketing and client acquisition. So with that said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you found this helpful.